Welcome back to the Big D Coins channel. Hopefully everyone is having a great day as always. In today's video, we are going to look at these coins right here. We've got 1981, 1982, and a 1983 Lincoln penny. Now, if you are into collecting pennies, you know the significance of the year 1982. 1982 was the year that the metal composition of the Lincoln penny changed. Prior to 1982, or partway through 1982, the Lincoln penny, these ones right here, these were 95% copper, 5% zinc. So if you go all the way back in the history of the Lincoln penny, back to 1909, that is the metal composition of the coin from 1909 to partway through 1982. And then guess what? If you go back prior to that, you go to the Indian head penny, the metal composition of that is still 95% copper, 5% zinc. So that's what these coins right here are going to have the same metal composition as these coins right here. 95% copper, 5% zinc. But guess what happened partway through 1982? They took most of the copper out of the penny, and instead of being 95% copper, they dropped it down to 2.5% copper. The rest of the metal was 97.5% zinc. So these ones right here are zinc pennies. A lot of coin collectors don't like them because they don't hold their figure quite as well as the copper pennies do. These 1983 or partway through 1982 and after zinc pennies will weigh 2.5 grams. The older pennies will weigh 3.11 grams. That includes the Lincoln penny and the Indian head penny. They've got the same metal composition and the same weight to them. So these ones right here will weigh a little bit less, just 2.5 grams. I used to have this cheap little scale that I would weigh them on and did that with some of my videos from a couple years ago, but unfortunately that scale no longer works. The battery on it died. I guess you kind of get what you pay for when you get some cheap scales to weigh coins on, you know, made with inferior quality that aren't meant to last. So just keep that in mind. It's not a big deal. It'll only cost $10. I could easily get a new one, but just haven't gotten around to getting a new one. So I'll eventually do that, and we can get back to weighing some coins. Now, if you've got a lot of free time on your hands, you can weigh these 1983 pennies and then try and find one that weighs more than 2.5 grams because there are some very valuable error coins out there, but you would have to have an absolute ton of time on your hands. I'm looking at an article from Numismatic News. This is dated January 6, 2017, and it talks about a 1983 D Lincoln cent, which was struck on a penny that weighs 2% zinc. That's 2% zinc and weighs 3 grams. So rather odd, that metal composition. It should have been that 97.5% zinc. Instead, it is just 2% zinc. So there are some error coins out there with the 1983 having the wrong metal content to them. Those are worth a lot of money. There are also a bunch of other error coins out there with 1983. So I'm going to move most of these aside and we'll just focus in on two, and we'll start talking about some of those error coins. The key takeaway from today's video was the switch in metal content. These two coins right here, they've got different metal content to them. Let's first start about the transition year of 1982. So in 1982, in addition to changing the metal content of the coin, they did change up the die a little bit. During 1982, the dies were modified and the bust lettering and date made slightly smaller. So 1982, the zinc pennies should have a slightly smaller date. However, if there's an error coin out there, they should have a slightly smaller date, and those will be worth a little bit more money in 1982. Those are slightly more rare than the older 1982 copper pennies, which will have the large date. However, they're not that much more rare. At a mint state 65, the small dates are worth 50 cents. The large dates are worth 35 cents. So you get a 15-cent increase in value for a mint state 65 if you've got that small date Lincoln penny. Some of the other key errors out there in 1983, that's when things get a little bit interesting. Not too many errors in 1982, but 1983, there are actually 6 different error coins that are mentioned in the Cherry Picker's Guide to Rare Die and Variety Coins. The most valuable of them is quite an interesting error. It's called the obverse die counter clash. Now, you might not have heard of a clash error before, so let me give you that definition. A die clash occurs when the obverse and the reverse dies are damaged upon striking each other without a planchet between them. So if this die were to strike the obverse and the reverse die, strike and hit each other, and there's no planchet, there's no blank coin in between, that causes an error. Due to the tremendous pressure used, parts of the image of one die may be impressed on the other. Planchets subsequently struck by this clash die reverse have distorted images to them. The most famous of the die clashes is what's known as the 1955 Franklin half dollar that has a Bugs Bunny nickname error to it. So the 1955 Franklin half dollar, look up pictures of that if you want to see some die clash errors. But the reason why we're talking about the die clash error is because of the 1983 obverse die counter clash. Now that is described as the following: some weak impressions of the letters from the word liberty appear above the date. So what is going on there? Imagine this right here. So this is for 1983 Philadelphia Mint, but the 1983 Denver Mint is the best coin I've got for the year 1983. So 1983, no mint mark. Look for some dates right above the actual year. Look for the word liberty right above right here. So that's the definition of it. The letters liberty above the date are not the result of a double die, but a counter clash. The variety is also paired with a major reverse die break or a cud. So it kind of, those seem to correlate with each other on the same coin. Now this coin is going to be worth $500 at a mint state 65. That's the obverse die counter clash. The actual number of that coin, if you want to look up the specific error, is FS01 1983-401. So that's going to be the most valuable of the many 1983 error coins out there. There are a lot of other double die obverses in the year 1983, and there was two double die reverses. Now let's talk about the mintages of these coins in case you want to get real specific about that. 1981, there are a lot of them produced in all 3 years, but we'll start with 1981. We'll quickly run through those, and then I'll let you go on your way for the rest of the day. So in 1981, the mintages for the Philadelphia Mint, there were 7,491,000,000 at the Philly Mint. In 81 Denver Mint, 5 billion. 82 Philly Mint, 10 million. Then 6 million. Then 7 billion and 6 billion. So the mintages range from 5 billion to 10 billion. So there are just an absolute ton of these coins that were produced. If you've got a coin, hopefully you can keep picking through them and you can get them in very good condition like this, like you see right here. And you can get these just based on pulling them out of circulation. So don't pay a ton of money to buy those when you can search and get ones in great condition. All right, everyone, that's all the info that I've got for you today. Hopefully you have a great day. Thank you very much, everyone, and best of luck coin collecting out there. Enjoy!